Hey guys, it is OBSCURIST Tourist here, and today we are in Toronto, my hometown. Like all of you, I'm stuck at home. Otherwise, I'd be in the middle of the desert right about now. So I thought I'd explore my own city and show you all the weird, wonderful, and colorful houses this place has to offer. And I'm going to start with one of the weirdest houses of all. This guy. It's called the Little House, and it's the smallest house in all of Toronto at just 29 square meters or 98 square feet. What a wonderful, wonderful little guy. Look at him just nestled in there. (128) Day Avenue, also known as the Little House, measures just 7.2 feet wide by 47 feet long and was built in 1912 by Arthur Whedon during the development of the street. Lot 128 was meant to be a laneway for cars to pass through, but instead Whedon built a home that he and his wife lived in for 26 years. So cute. So in the east end of Toronto is this place right behind me. It's called the Doll House. And it is definitely one of the oddest and interesting houses in all of the city. As you can see, just thousands and thousands of dolls and figurines on the outside. While some people consider this a dollhouse, this Leslieville semi is actually the creation of Shirley Sumiser. And Shirley, along with her son, actually started creating this work of art back when her husband died some years ago. This is a really, really hard house to miss. And one of the neighbors revealed a few years back that her family actually got their house for a better deal because of the Doll House. I mean, I'd love to live beside an interesting house like this, but some people consider it to be a bit of an eyesore. There you can see Cookie Monster, Bart Simpson. There's another Cookie Monster, Mickey Mouse, one of the M&M guys. Even Shrek's made an appearance here. You really could just stare at this creation all day and still never really get the full gist of it and all of its details. I mean, you could really get lost. And like, what's that? A blue monkey? Surely the most elusive of all the monkeys. A rare sighting indeed. Miss Sumiser and her son have erected a lot of really cute signs on the property, and here's one in tribute to teachers. A teacher reveals the past, reveals the present, and creates the future. They aren't lying. And here's some sweet words we can all live by. Life's short. Eat dessert. Another really amazing architectural feat here in Toronto is this. That's the Cube House. And unfortunately, it is slated, and it's been slated to be torn down over the past couple of years, but here it still stands. So if you need to see it, now's the time. The Cube House is located not in the prettiest of areas in the city. In fact, that right there, just behind it, is the off-ramp from one of the main highways, the DVP. So a lot of traffic above your little house. As you can see, the Cube House is not one, but actually a series of 3 cubes. And this house was inspired by Piet Blom's Rotterdam cubic houses. Sad that it's gotta go. And this metal staircase is something you'd have to climb up every single time you'd want to enter this cube house. I'd imagine the novelty of having an entrance about 50 feet above the ground would wear off pretty quickly. I've always wanted to see what it looks like inside. Just look at those windows. What a super unique house, really. There isn't anything particularly interesting about 77 Yarmouth Road, except for the fact that there's a giant elephant on its lawn. The Elephant House features this wonderful life-size, or what I assume to be life-size, plaster mammoth sculpture, and it's aptly titled An Elephant in the Room. As you can see, it takes up pretty much the entire front yard of this house. You know, every time I bike past this place, I just have to stop and marvel at it. The sculpture was created by art student Matt Donovan in 1999, and he gave it to his friend James Lawson in 2003, and this is where it stood ever since. I can only imagine that the neighbors actually do talk about the elephant in the room, or more accurately, the elephant on the lawn. This over-the-top abode behind me has been affectionately titled the Cork House because the owner, over the past few decades, has adorned it with thousands upon thousands of corks. What else? The wood, as it is often called, consists of chopped pool cues, dolls, and assorted other toys. This is the brainchild of Albino Carrera, who began decorating this place after breaking his neck in a 1993 accident. I imagine that being laid up for months on end recovering from an injury could only lead to wild ideas and inspiration. I mean, this place is a perfect example of that. There's some wheels from bikes decorated with what look like marbles and other shiny objects. Just look at this magnificent entrance. That is a pretty awesome sight. This place has sort of come full circle for me because back in the late 1990s, I used to often visit a friend who lived next door to this very place. And we'd sit on the deck on hot summer nights having beers, and we'd stare off at this place, absolutely marveling at the detail and dedication of actually accumulating all the materials it took to make this place what it is. Of course, it's taken on a whole other life since then. Back in those days, there were no dolls or other objects or glass aside from the corks lining the walls. Here's a close-up of all the corks. You can see them that originally made up this place when Mr. Carrera first began to bring his imagination to life. And look, this place actually comes with its own car, or actually minivan. I always see this thing parked around Toronto, and it always brings a smile to my face. There aren't really any corks on this vehicle, but what it lacks in corks, it more than makes up for in plastic toys and seashells. This is definitely a van that'll make you look twice. Pretty neat. I know what you're thinking. This does have some similarities to the dollhouse that I showed you earlier, but Mr. Carrera had been decorating this place long before that one, and it's quite interesting because if you walk around this area of Toronto, there are a lot of strange houses with eccentric owners decorating their lawns. Of course, nothing tops this place. And I dare you to guess what this place is called. Any guesses? This is the Greek House, otherwise known as the House of Parashos, and it is over the top in its nationalism, and I couldn't imagine having to live beside that thing, but it's pretty cool. Believe it or not, the owner of this place completely repaints the facade of this house every spring in order to keep it looking pristine. This place is just massive, so I couldn't even imagine how many buckets of paint it would take to paint it all. Aside from the sheer time and effort it would take to paint it, I'd imagine the cost of doing so would be immense. And that little archway leading to the backyard of this house features the name of the family that actually built this place. Parachos. Just amazing for a private residence. You've got jaw-dropping statues and Greek sculptures, elaborate gateways and custom signs, replete with sigmas and carriage-drawn gods. I mean, I've always wanted a bridge leading to the front door of my house, but now that I'm seeing it, I think it would actually be pretty cool to have some carriage-drawn gods built into the facade. So that date there up on the top is, I assume that's to be October 22, 1972. That is the date the Parachos came to Canada. That roofline is totally wild. What are those eagles up there?
I think they're griffins.
I don't know. I think they might be eagles. Okay, so this place isn't particularly weird, but it might be the cutest house in all of Toronto. I mean, who wouldn't want to be holed up there for a few months in a pandemic? I certainly would. Very cute and colorful. Like, how cute is this walkway? Just brilliant. And this is one of my favorite houses in all of Toronto, and it's nestled in one of the nicest areas in the city. I mean, really, let's get real. Where else would you put a castle if not in the nicest area in the city? That's Casa Loma. And I bet you didn't know that Toronto had a castle. But we do. Just look at this amazing building with all of its wonderful stonework. This is actually a Gothic revival style mansion. And the man who had this place built, Sir Henry Mill Palat, spared absolutely no expense in its construction. Starting in 1911, it took 299 workers just over 3 years to build this wonderful residence. It features 98 rooms covering some 64,700 square feet. And at the time, it was the largest residence in all of Canada. Some of the notable amenities inside include an elevator, an oven large enough to cook an ox, 2 vertical passages for pipe organs, a pool, and 3 bowling alleys in the basement. Though only one was ever fully completed. But my favorite thing by far about this entire place is that it has 2, count them, 2 secret passages from rooms upstairs that lead to Palat's ground floor office. For me, walking through these secret passages were always a highlight whenever I visited this place as a kid. Unfortunately, Palat and his wife were only able to live in Casa Loma for 10 years due to a series of unfortunate investments. The Palats went broke and had to move out in 1923. Investors bought the place and turned Casa Loma into a luxury hotel for some months until the city took over control of it due to unpaid taxes. It sat vacant for many years and was even being considered for demolition, but cooler heads prevailed. And just down the road, in the middle of this residential neighborhood, sits Casa Loma's stables. And there's even a hunting lodge. Amazingly, and this is also one of my favorite features of this place, there is an 800-foot tunnel underneath this street connecting the residents to this wonderful place. So guys, thank you so much for watching and letting me show you some of the weird and wonderful houses here in Toronto. And I'm sure as the weeks progress, I will be uploading and shooting more videos from this very fine city. Because let's get real, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon with the borders closed. But there are much worse places I could be. I mean, look at this right there. Boink. One of my favorite buildings, the CN Tower. There's so much to see here, and I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show it all to you. Anyway, for now, see you later, stay safe, and until next time, Obscurist Tourist, out.